There it is, and let's start the intro.
Here we go.
So,
Yo, this BoneCrusher, and you're watching the Art is King podcast. Cass.
everybody, this is DTM, and we're sitting at Post Office. Big ups to Post Office for doing a great job at developing an awesome space for creatives and talented people. It's a startup space for if you ever need an office, if you ever need to sit down at a desk and have some of that Google Fiber internet speeds that we're all tapped in. Next to me, we have the Matt Penciler.
What up, y'all?
And we have another live stream podcast with Artist King. And before we introduce our next guest, I do want to point out that we have some great upcoming events that you want to check out. They are available online at artistking.org, the website. You can go to the events page and check out some of the events that are coming up, including a Artist King meetup for teens and kids. So these are kids of any age who are still in school, who have some creative tendencies, that have some talent, and you as a parent want to give them access to some professional artists to talk about entrepreneurship and how to develop that creativity as a career in the future. So check it out. That is going to be on June 2nd at the Kirkwood Library. You don't want to miss out. It's big ups to Kirkwood Library for giving us a space to connect with the community. And then, of course, on June 9, we have the regular Artist King meetup at General Assembly. So we're still working on the details on what that meetup's going to be. But earlier that same day at 10 a.m., we're going to have Charles Quinney going to be talking about Adobe Premiere. And
CQ.
Yep, and then 2 months after that, he's going to talk about Adobe After Effects. So you want to come to both so that you can build up on your skills. And he's a trained animator, but some of the basics and fundamentals apply to anybody who wants to try out the app. So you don't want to miss out on that. Check out the rest of the schedule. We're going to have some awesome events coming up. And don't forget to stop by San Flax every now and then. We have a Buttercups team summer camp coming up. And we always got some cool things going on in the store. So stop by. All right, before I introduce our guests, we're going to run down a quick list of our sponsors. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. DTM. We're back, just like that. Yeah. You're gonna see. Yes. You're gonna see more of the Mad Penciler as these podcasts roll around, because we're trying to get a handle on how to use Cinemaker. Cinemaker is our sponsor for the software that we're using on these iPads and iPhone. You use it on your live stream, don't you?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you
On Tuesday nights.
Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock. Yep. If you want to catch up on those live streams, what do we do?
Go follow the Mad Penciler, that's 2 Ds, at Patreon, and you will be able to support my cause, which is bringing art to children in hospitals, Boys and Girls Club, and stuff like that. But yes, I do use Cinemaker as well when I do my live stream, so check it out.
Awesome. Well, cool. So, and it's only $1 to start up and pay to be there, right?
Yeah,
$1.
yeah.
Let's say $1 a month. I think I'm gonna jump on Patreon to support some artists, because there's some bunch of stuff happening.
Yeah,
on
some good
Patreon.
stuff out there.
Yeah,
a lot of
$1.
good stuff.
I think I can do a couple of dollars. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and talk to our guest. Let's show you who he is. Dun, 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 dun. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, everybody?
Tell us your name and where you're from.
Well, my name is W. I'm from Atlanta, originally from North Carolina. And I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. But you were raised in North Carolina.
Yeah, I grew up in North Carolina, a place called Fayetteville.
On purpose?
Oh, yeah, I was raised on purpose, yeah.
Your parents moved from New York or something?
Yeah, my parents moved from New York. Well, I moved down in North Carolina. I was around like 10. And I just grew up there, went to high school and college there. And then I moved to Atlanta in about 2000.
2000?
Yeah, so I've been here for 18 years.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah. That's nothing. I was here in 94, 95.
See, you were here during the good years.
During the good year?
Yeah, he was here during the good years.
Yeah, so in all that time since you've been here, you've worked in various projects, and then so you saw that. Jesus. You worked in various projects. What are your what was your, when you say you went to art school, what was your focus when you went to school? What kind of artist did you want to be, and what kind of art are you doing now?
Okay, so I went to school, at art school, right about the time when you had computers were just taking over graphic design. So it was still a relatively new process. They were still in the place between doing stuff by hand and doing stuff digital. So I came in right after the digital started, taking over. I think it was like either Illustrator 3 or some craziness. I could be wrong, but it was a low number. And I went to school. When I got to college, I really didn't have an idea of exactly what area I wanted to go into. I just wanted to go and be an artist, because growing up there wasn't that many options. There wasn't a whole bunch of options to refer to. So when I was in there,
what is that beeping? Is that your camera?
Yeah, it's the camera. Okay. There we go.
It tells you when it's taking pictures or something?
Yeah.
It tells you that's what the beeping is?
Yeah, it's like, you're good. It's like, you're doing good. Keep going.
Good.
It's little assurances that happens when they do that.
All right.
Yeah, so I went to college and I wanted to do something that dealt with like hip hop culture and stuff like that. And, that was pretty far from the traditional, and there wasn't that many artists out there at the time that were doing it to look at it as examples. So I went and majored in illustration with a concentration. It was communication arts with a concentration in illustration. So that was technically my BFA degree.
And what that means is that you're taking your artistic talent for a purpose that can be used in advertising.
Yes, commercial, straight commercial. Even the funny thing is, always like a little rivalry between the painters and the illustrators. In actuality, they use the same stuff. Only difference is illustrators have a context that is given to you. So
you don't create just art.
Yeah, you can't just make up an illustration. So that's the only difference. And your actual illustration will probably be accompanied with text. So that was the major difference. And and after college, graduated and I went back home because I thought after doing my thing in college I was going to be picked up by a big ad agency, even though I didn't realize there weren't any big ad agencies where I'm from.
Right.
So I worked in newspaper. Fayetteville. So that's where I got my first professional job was at a newspaper doing design.
Okay.
And illustrating for like magazines, urban magazines and hip hop magazines on the side.
Did working for the newspaper where you was an editor telling you these are the illustrations we need done today?
Oh, I wasn't illustrating for the newspaper.
Oh,
no.
what were you doing?
I was designing car ads.
Car ads.
Car ads and sales ads. Big Starbursts.
You worked in the classifieds department?
Yeah, I was doing that stuff. I didn't lay out the classifieds. I laid out the actual
ads
to
that
sell.
are the paper.
Like if Belks has some type of sale on sheets, they'll give me the picture of the sheets. I'll drop it in there and I'll put the big Starburst like 20% off. And that's what I was doing.
Nice.
And I designed some brochures and stuff like that.
But then you were picking up freelance stuff on the side where you get to draw stuff.
Yeah, so at the time, one of my earliest things was for a magazine out in Canada. And that was my first, I would say it was probably one of my first professional illustration gigs where I had to do some illustrations of I think Most Def or something like that. And that's when I learned the difference in currency.
Oh, okay.
Because in my mind, I thought I was getting paid in dollars, not Canadian bucks.
So when they said $1,000 Canadian, you thought it was a regular $1,000.
It wasn't no $1,000 Canadian. I was like, whoa, it's only $100. So the currency changed over there. That was a very early lesson.
So as time goes on, of course, the internet is not what it was. It wasn't then what it is now. How did you slowly make that shift from just working a job, doing basic graphic design, because that was, and then into fully doing illustration work for your clients? And how do you land clients?
Okay.
In the early days?
Well, what happened is I was doing that job and it was not working out for me. Because you realize there's what you want to do and there's what you're doing to get survive. So I was designing car ads. I really didn't foresee myself that as a long-term situation. So this is right when the internet was really starting to gain steam in the late 90s. I guess that would be the first tech bubble. And at the time, designers were hot. They were rock stars. There was a time when graphic designers were treated like rock stars. Like pick you up at the airport in the limo, take you out to eat, wine and dine you, just so you can get a job designing websites. It was like that. And at the time, when I was working at my other job, my daytime job at the newspaper, I was on Monster, just sending my website to everybody. I had a standard email, just copy and paste it, and a couple of people hit me back. 2 of which were in Atlanta, one was in Chicago, and I flew to Atlanta during the day. They picked me up in a limo, took me out to a restaurant, And I was nervous because I didn't know what to say, but they did all the talking, and I just sat there eating. And at the time I'm like maybe 23. So
yeah, no clue what was going
coming out of
on.
Fayetteville, North Carolina, going to Atlanta, being picked up in a limo, so it was cool. And I took one of the jobs, and for them I was designing like websites. So that was my first step into Atlanta, was through that job.
Okay. And in those days, what did you do to get noticed by a client like that?
Okay. So while I was, working during the day, at night I was just working on my own stuff and pushing it out there and promoting it. And this is before social media, so there wasn't a whole lot of you can't just say, "Look at me, I'm chilling," post. It was like I gotta build my website, create my images, create my graphics, and then you put it out there and you try to get people to go to your website and check out your work. And magazines started taking notice of that, and I got put on with a magazine called Frank 151, that gave me my first shot at getting my work out there. I did about 8 illustrations, one issue for them, and that issue kept bringing work to me for years afterwards as an illustrator. So
a lot of people saw that.
A lot of people saw it, and keep in mind, this is before social media. Nowadays, you can just post something from your phone, and it goes out to your people. But now it's before then, being the magazine meant something. So my goal was to try to get in as many magazines as possible. And there was an artist that I was a big fan of, and I would look at whatever he's in, and I would apply to those magazines to try to get my work in them. So if he was in a magazine in Germany, I'm hitting them up with the same email, and I got my work in magazines overseas doing that.
And you compose your portfolio in a way that magazine would take their time to look at it.
Yeah, they'll go to the website, check out the work, and say, hey, we'll do an interview. And it's just they'll send you some questions, you send some pictures and answers back, and it comes out in publication, and you can go to the bookstore and see your picture. So that was pretty cool.
Nice. So as time's gone on, what are you doing today? What is your job as an artist, illustrator, designer? What are you doing?
Well, I'm a backup vocalist right now.
All right.
Complete career shift. Currently, I'm still an artist. I still produce my own work and get stuff out there and do illustrations for some clients, as well as I'm the curator and artist and one of the artists in Art Beats and Lyrics. So we've been traveling doing one night only art exhibitions for the past 10 years, on the road. But before that, we really started doing stuff in late 2004. So, we're still doing shows. We're doing about 10 shows a year in different markets, bringing hip hop culture, music, and art and illustration around the country.
And now you're the curator, so now you're the one looking at talent and how they promote themselves and get themselves in front of you.
Yeah. So one of the things we have, and you guys know because you've all been there, is the warehouse. And the warehouse is where you see what people are really made of. That's what you really see what they're made of. All that Instagram stuff and Facebook and all that goes out the window. What can you do in the warehouse?
Right.
So the warehouse is, we have all the walls for the show set up. We basically build the show up, and you drop off your work or you do an installation. And that's where you can see how people's creative process really works. And over the years, we've been using that warehouse for the past 6 years. And we've had artists come in from around the country, and we can see how they perform in the warehouse. There's no air conditioning. It's dusty. It's
Hot AF.
It's hot. It's noisy, and sometimes it's spooky. And you got to get down. And so you get to see the creative process. You get to see whether the artist is prepared, whether they're they go by their gut. They're more improvisational, or whether they're where their mind is at. Whether they're all over the place, whether they're focused. And you get a chance to see all that.
Whether they show up.
Whether they show up or not.
Right.
That's another thing.
Yeah. So like an artist from the outside looking in, right? Because you were once this artist a long time ago. And now you're a curator. They could say gatekeepers or whatever, right? And so as an artist trying to come up and say, I want to be in the Art Beats and Lyrics show. I want my work to travel, around the country. A lot of artists nowadays have social media, and they say they want to do something, what do you look for in those when those artists communicate with you and you happen to take the time to look through it? What do you look for in their social media, and what do you look for on their website, or do you prefer that they have a website? What kind of history are you looking at in an artist that's trying to get in on the show?
Okay, well, after doing the show for so long, I have a different take on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Social media removes the context out of art. You know, you don't know when it's done, really. You don't know how long it took to do it. All you see is, you know, and I've done this before. You get the picture of the hand with the paper.
Right.
You know, or the picture of the brush. We all do it.
It might not even be that person.
It might even be your hand. And the funny thing about the hand on the paper thing is you don't know when that picture was done, you know? But that's what people like to see, because if you show without the hand, it doesn't get as many likes. Put the hand in it, likes go. So, but what happens, it sort of removes the context of the pieces out of the work. You know, sometimes you don't know the scale, you don't know the visual impact, because phones have gotten really good at making things look great. So when you actually see it in person, it may be kind of a letdown because of their presentation. Online, it may look fantastic, but they may have no idea how to present their work. And even some basic stuff like a frame, you know, whether it's framing, whether it's, you know, finishing their work. It may look good here, but then the sides are all messed up and they got like, you know, like clear fishing wire wrapped around the back for the hanging, or the canvas is like a half an inch thick, you know, things like that matter. So, and scale too, when you want to look for something that has some impact, because at our show, there's a lot of noise. There's a DJ spinning, there's people out there walking around, people having a good time getting some drinks, and you got to have something that can make somebody stop in their tracks with something to behold. So subtlety doesn't go over well, you know, and scale matters. Now, you don't want something that's super big and super bad. You know, you want something that's quality at a good size and presented in a way that can command the attention of somebody passing by. So whatever you have, just keep in mind, will this stop someone in their tracks? You know, does this speak to an audience out there? Because, you know, you may do something that's abstract and people will walk past it like it's a hallway. You know, and we see it because after doing 10 shows here, you get to watch to see what people respond to. You know, people like things that are interactive. You know, last year you did the sketchbook thing, interactive. You did the background. People loved it. Jump in it, interactive. They can feel a part of it. And they can take pictures of the work and they want to share it to all their people. So different shows have different ways of going about engaging their crowds. Museums probably wouldn't do that approach necessarily because it's quiet. You know, it's very serene. It's not super crowded. But if you're in a situation where you have to present work in a very loud environment, you have to have work that can make somebody stop and take notice. Okay,
that's good. I guess you got to consider your audience.
You got to consider the audience,
right? So an artist can't just can't just put together a portfolio and just send it out to everybody and anybody.
Yeah,
you kind of want to pick and choose, and I'm sure that's what you did.
Yeah,
because you were looking at other artists who were in your field 20 years ago when you were trying to hit up magazines and so on. And so you want to consider your audience, see if the art fits, and show the art in the best possible light to convince the viewer of your talent and your
absolutely.
work. I like it.
Yeah, you want people to be like, wow. There's a wow factor that you want in your work. So, like, I'll give you an example. If you probably went to many art shows when you walked in and you were like, that's nice, that's cool, that's very nice. You know, got your little thumbtacks on the wall, things, paper just flapping in the air condition.
Yes.
That's not going to fly in some shows.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to have the impact. And when you don't present right, you're doing yourself a disservice. You know,
you're devaluing the art.
Devaluing art. You know, it's like putting the suit on. It's basically putting your clothes putting your art in a nice suit. My friend Dustin said that. You know, it's like dressing up your artwork. You know, you want to do that. You want to make your pieces look as good as they possibly can because the guy next to you is killing it. And you don't want to be that dude. You know, that dude that looks like he does not belong at this party. Right. You know, you don't want to be the weakest link. You want to come with it and be able to hang with the other artists.
So you have a podcast now.
Yes.
You and Dustin. You mentioned Dustin's name.
Yes.
Awesome artist.
Do all though.
Duomo, yeah, that dude there, he can draw.
Yeah.
He can draw.
Yeah.
Whatever, bro. No.
Whatever, right? He posted a drawing talking about trying out this. I think he was trying Procreate or something.
Yeah.
And it looked good. And then it's like, okay, here's the second sketch. I'm like, what?
How
like,
did you
what the
like
this? But you have a podcast, and so the Artist King podcast is about talking to anybody who's looking at a career as an artist, and seeing those before us, right? So we see everybody else's path and say, maybe if that person can do it, then we can do it too. And I was going to ask you if you ever share some of those insights, like when you were just talking about what the artists need to do and how they need to focus on their art. And that's where the podcast comes into play, I think, because you share a lot of your opinion on there. Tell us about it, why you started it, and what's it about.
Well, we've done a variety of topics. I think we have 15 episodes. Each episode's probably like 30 minutes around that. Even though people say we should make them longer, we want to get to the topic and keep it moving.
Right.
And it's been fun because artists have conversations amongst themselves that other people don't really hear, and I think by recording it, you're putting the stuff that we talk about, I guess they call it shop talk, and you put it out there so people can see, okay, these artists actually think about their work outside of their perceived image, because sometimes people think you are only what you create, and that we're actually people that think. Or think about different topics, whether they're political, whether they're social, whether it's art related, or whether it's music related, whatever. We have other opinions about different things because we're people just like everybody else.
Right.
So having a podcast gives a platform to put it out there so people can see, hey, these guys are thinkers as well as people that create images.
And I like that. I like the fact that you want to keep it short because, there are some podcasts that go way beyond that with the inner, what do you call that? That banter and inner jokes and stuff because the people know each other. Yeah. And everybody else like, well,
what are y'all talking about?
When can we get to what I came here? Because the title says something.
Yeah. Some really attention-grabbing title.
Yeah.
10 things that'll destroy your life.
Right.
So I was like, okay.
Nice. All right, so we're going to move on to the next part of this podcast where we're going to talk about drawing on the surface.
Word.
And W is going to show us a couple of his techniques. And what I really like to see you show is a little bit of your process. Do you go through sketching? Do you use layers? And we mentioned this before because you told me about Sketchable. But show us a little bit of what you do when you're sketching and planning and thinking, capturing, etc. All right?
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. But first, we're going to go over a quick segment that explains what Sketchable is, how do you use it, and what are some of the things that I like about Sketchable the app on the Surface Pro. And we have Surface Pro 4s here, and but Sketchable is available on all Windows 10 computers and tablets. So we're going to go into that, and we'll be right back, y'all.
Now
Here we go. Bang.
I gotta find something to share.
We are here to take a moment to look through the Sketchable app on Windows 10 and the Surface Pro 4. There's a lot of good reasons on why Sketchable is the main digital drawing app that I use for my artwork, and is one of the early apps that I've tried that it felt really easy to work with and draw. So I'm going to go over some of those reasons, and I want you to take your time to watch this, but also download the app from the Windows Microsoft Store and try it out for yourself. Try out the app. There's a free version. It's a little limited, but you can still save your work. So try out some of the things that I'm going to show you here today, and then let me know what you think about the app. Why creating digital art on Sketchable is very easy for the pro and the novice. Here we go. Number one, it's easy to set up a book. So let me go to the beginning of the app and show you. I have a book in here right now. But let's say you just started the app. You want to check out what it can do and how it does what it does. First things first is start up a sketchbook. I like to work in the A3 size. So here we go, A3, 420 by 297 and 297 by 420. So 297 by 420, that's the portrait size. I'm gonna call it Art Life, because everything I do is about the art life. There we go. And then I want not brown leather. Let's go black distress. What are these colors? Black speckle, like a black book. There we go. There it is. The name for my new sketchbook, the cover to the sketchbook, and the size. So here we go. Create. Bam. There it goes. Now when I open it, there is my sketchbook, and you can see that I have 10 pages right now. You can also see all of the pages and scroll through them by clicking that little menu on the top right. And let me take you to a book that I've already started and I have artwork in. So here we go. So check it out. So once I click through the menu up here, I will be able to then see more on my drawings. Come on, Sketchable. There we go. It's a lot of artwork, so it took a second. And so I can scroll through my pages and jump to the page that I want, or just or pick up where I left off. And where I left off was with this drawing of myself. So it's very easy to set up a book. The next thing is that it's very easy and clean to understand the UI. And what you're looking at right now are the settings on how you get started with your artwork. And so on the very bottom we have the eraser, paintbrush, airbrush, pencil, marker, ink pen, nib, pastels, looks like pastels are chalk, and then the blender tool. So these are all our tools, and they're all right here. They're real easy to understand, real easy to see, and pick from one of them. Now let me switch up a page so that we can play around, and let's go with this one, since I'm gonna delete or erase what's on here. So we have plenty of layers options to work with, and so I do need this. So as you can see, I have plenty of layers here that I've been working on. This for a different project that I'm in the middle of, and some notes that I took earlier. So I can start up a new layer and start my sketching process. Here we go. Let's get my pencil. And the tools are real easy to manage and adjust, not only the colors along with the palettes that is here and then a color wheel, but also with the opacity and the thickness. So there we go. And as I switch around the size of the pencil, I can also change the texture of the pencil. And this works with some of the dry media in here. And so now I can zoom in, get rid of the UI. I still keep something here, some of the controls here, which add on the layers and transform tools and so on. But I can go ahead and start drawing. It responds to pressure. It responds to, it has that palm rejection, which we look for all the time. And it was real easy to just draw. So as we keep on drawing, you'll notice that I'm just sitting here with my left hand panning and zooming. If I need to back up, I can always move back with 3 fingers on the screen to go back. I can go 3 fingers to the front. So I don't need a keyboard. I don't need anything other than the Surface Pen on one hand and the other hand here on the canvas to navigate what I'm doing. So that's another great thing about Sketchable and drawing on the surface. Here we go. Let's do the ear. Just messing around. There it is. Very cool. Very cool. This is designed to really focus on your creativity. Not a lot of menus. Photoshop is a great application. It has been around for 30 years. Exactly, I'm not sure how many years, but it's been around for a long time. And one of the things that when I was starting out my digital drawing career was that looking at Photoshop, it's a ton of menus there, and it was not easy to just figure it out and get used to where everything is, because Photoshop is one of those apps that is used by photographers, designers, illustrators, painters, etc. Whereas here, Sketchable is just, the focus is to just create and not get caught up in all the little things that could be in the app and that are for other purposes. So that's something to keep in mind. The last thing I like about Sketchable, and let's switch the picture so you can see what I mean, is that it's really for the amateur and for the professional. Meaning you can work on your creativity and draw to your heart's content, or you can be a professional and work on a particular project and try to execute various textures, various levels of shading, values, and detail. As you can see by the self-portrait of myself holding the Art Life Gauntlet. All right, this is the Art Life Gauntlet. You got all the tools here on everything that an artist needs. So as a professional, what I like about Sketchable is that you can then quickly export the drawing with all the layers that you worked on, and export this whole page as a Photoshop file, which is a big deal, because then you can transfer this file into your favorite drawing app or editing app. And in my case, is the Photoshop. And so once I export to Photoshop, I can then reformat the size, reformat some of the details, and still maintain the layers that it took to draw this. So because it's a Windows 10 machine, you're able to use other software besides Sketchable and a regular drawing app into going to hardcore editing and working professionally for files that you're gonna need for a client. And because Windows 10 is a regular computer, it supports all this different software. It supports all the Creative Cloud software. And on this machine, I have Illustrator, Photoshop, I have Premiere, Audition, and I don't use InDesign too much, so I don't see it in here. It's not in this machine. And then, of course, your regular Windows apps like Excel, Publisher, OneNote, Word. And then a couple of extra apps that I like Medibank Paint, Sketchbook Pro. Sketchbook just went free. Manga Studio, this is an old version. Storyboarder, Paint 3D, Krita, Graphitter, Expressi. I don't know what this tracing one is. I haven't used that one in a minute. And Speedy Painter. And there is another app that I've downloaded that is Microsoft's app that I've included in here, but maybe not in this machine. So in any case, it allows you to run this computer as a real computer with real software to do the kind of work that you would do for any professional project. Now, what's going to happen here is that the only reason I jump into Photoshop once I finish my drawing is so that I can then add text, format the artwork for whatever my client needs are, including book covers, CD covers, apparel, and so on. So let me see if I remember where. Oh, I put it in here. There it is, Danos. And there we go. And then Infinity DTM version 2. I think this is the latest one. You got to name your files the right way, otherwise you won't know what's going on. And so there it goes. Bam. And not only do I have the drawing the way I finished it in Sketchable, and then I can finish editing things in, adding the text, or reformatting the size of the document, but I still have all my layers here. You see that? All the layers are still there. So this is a quick overview of Sketchable and the power that is in it. I recommend that you try it out if you have a Windows 10 machine. If you have not tried a PC in a long while, you'll be surprised to what a PC can do nowadays. It is a full functioning creative machine made for artists, made for creative people who wanna build content, whether it's video, audio, or visual artwork. All right, now back to the podcast. We're back. Thank you everybody for being here. This is DTM, and let's see if you can see me. Yeah, you can see me and the matte pencil over here on the side. And so you just went and saw the breakdown of how I use Sketchable, some of the things that I like about it, and now W is going to show us what one of his processes and his work and using Sketchable. We have some feedback for Sketchable. The silicon vendors, the developers, they're really awesome people. If you download Sketchable now on the Windows 10 Microsoft Store, all right, and start playing with it, there's a free version. Go ahead and start playing with it and post some of your drawings here on this stream. I want to check it out. I want to see what you're doing with the free version. After you post some of the drawings with the free version, I will pick an artist that has posted some artwork, and I'll give them the unlock code so they can have Sketchable unlocked all the way through with everything.
What?
So we're giving away unlock codes right now.
Yeah.
All right. So who's down? Who wants to try it out? Let me know, and I'll get you put on because I really enjoy it. I think when the Surface Line came out 6 years ago, I was all excited, man. I was like, ooh, I want to be able to draw on Windows with Windows. And then right after that, Apple came out with the iPad. And it's like, oh, whatever. I don't care. I want to draw digitally.
Yeah.
My wife pointed this out. That I say that I've only been drawing digitally for a few years, where in reality I've been doing Illustrator and Photoshop
Like,
for
come on,
15,
man.
18
Right,
years.
right.
Come on, man.
So we're digital artists for a long time.
You've been drawing for a few years, Dave.
Yeah.
You were drawing on tablets back when people had big desk machines.
Yes.
You know?
and Windows was putting them out. HP,
Yeah.
they were putting them out.
You
They were putting them out.
were the first person I saw with a touch screen that you could draw on.
Yes,
You know?
I did. I actually did have it.
So,
Any case, we're gonna point the camera at W. He's gonna show us some stuff and take some notes because there's a master at work right here. So take it away, Mr. W. Let's see. We can see your screen
you
now.
can see the screen.
Yep.
Okay. First of all, I like to say that Sketchable was actually the first app in which I started sketching with that I really liked. And it's fun. You could do a lot with it. You could really push the limits with it. And I've done some, professional gigs using it, and I love it. So one of the things that I use it for primarily is I'm still a traditional artist, by trade, at heart. So as curator for Art Beats and Lyrics, one thing that I do is I draw every element in the show. Most people don't realize that. So I'm a visual person. So I sketch out a number of different solutions for issues and problems.
And you always know what your space you're working in.
Yeah, I mean, this is outside of actually doing the floor plan and layouts of each venue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
I remember you showed me the little sketchbook, and he was like, yo, I got everything, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I sketch out, and this is just digital sketching. I have books of possible solutions for things. So as curator, you're always looking for ways to solve problems. So I give you an example of one. This right here was a quick sketch I did because we had a show at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I had to convey an idea of what I wanted to see happen. How do we hang a wall and we have a week to do it? Do we go out and build a structure or do we use lighting truss? So this is actually what I sent to the people. I'm like, this is how we can do it. And I wrote down the notes, the piece, what we needed, the dimensions, and the lighting truss, and I sent it over, and we tried it, after we decided that wasn't the best idea. But you use it for visual communication. So they can say, okay, I get this. This makes sense.
Let's move it on right there.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so, and I'll give you an example of something else.
And some of the problems that you face and that you need solutions for are like what?
Give you an example. How to use barrels and make tables.
Because you have access to barrels.
You got access to barrels. These are some of the notes I had to take for stuff, I'm a chronic note taker.
Okay.
So these are different ideas. So at meetings, taking notes.
Blow that up. Go back to that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So these are how I take notes. Because you got to do something to make meetings interesting. So you draw.
You need the information to be interesting and grabbing enough for you to come back to it and remember what happened.
Remember what happened. These are different ways, different setups of wall configurations. So as curator, you're always looking to solve issues because one thing that we have going on that other places may not have is that our environment changes per show. We might be in an open space warehouse in one city and a stadium in another. Or we may be outdoors partially and indoors partially. So we have to come up with something that works universally. So these are just some of the ideas and tons of difference, even for building things. Different how to set up different things to build. And sometimes I get fancy and try to do like, change the color of the paper. So even these are some of the ideas and stuff that I sketch out. The brown tone paper.
What?
I'm getting fancier with that.
Oh Lord.
And even how to set up walls that are for projection and things we need.
Do you have a full one notebook for just art, beats, and lyrics stuff?
I have tons of notebooks for stuff. So like, I'll give you an example of something. For everything that you see in the show, I've thought of multiple ways, and Jabbar and I thought of multiple ways of trying it. Everything from the types of road cases, how to set the walls up, installation ideas. Sometimes I'll even, work with an artist on their stuff. Like, okay, we should try this, and I'll sketch it out for them as far as their installation goes. So,
And you do this because you have a budget that you need to work on, right? And you need to have a list that needs to fit on that budget.
Yes.
So you can't just ask for say whatever we're just going to do, what we can, because some things you may have to order beforehand or get custom made.
Absolutely.
Right?
Even like the types of walls and stuff like that. And so it's tricky because you got to figure out ways to solve a lot of issues, but it's also very fun because I get a chance to go to different shows. Kat and I, we travel to Basel and we go to museums and we get a chance to see what's out there and what other people are doing. And we take pictures and take notes. Then we come back and we're like, okay, how can we work this into what we're doing? Or what works over there? What works over there doesn't work, and all that. So that's one way I use Sketchable is to really plan things out, especially if you travel a lot. And you want to get down and come up with a quick idea, you can break out the Sketchable and be like, okay, I need to do a wall. You can sketch out how the wall looks, the box looks, dimensions and all that, write down numbers, and then you could instantly email it to your business partner or the fabricator or whoever is working on it, and they can say, okay, this wall works or this wall doesn't, or we can do this or we can't do this. So, but yeah, that's how I use Sketchable primarily. It's a great tool, and keep coming out with new stuff and keep making updates.
Right. So let's talk to Sketchable one time. Silicon Vendors.
Yeah.
The team Miles and Ryan Harris. They are the two brothers who been coding this.
Yeah.
And they actually have artists involved in developing the UI and some of the tools that are inside of Sketchable. So your feedback was we need lock-in layers. Why do you need to lock a layer? Why do you need to lock a layer?
Well, what happens when you're getting really deep in a project, you really want to, now here's an example of how I used it to actually build an installation and sketch out a picture. So, side note, like this is when I produce artwork, I look at it in context, and of course it changes, but I look at painting like you build things. Paintings are like visual buildings, so I have like notes along the sides and how to construct an actual image. So that's another way I use Sketchable because you can just change the colors and test things out. So on a side note, that's what I use it for. But as far as the locking layers go, when you lock your layers, that means you can't write it anymore, which would be helpful because sometimes you're drawing on top of it, you're getting into it, and you realize you just drew over something that you did the wrong layer, and you're like, nah. So if they could get that and also name the layers, that'll help out tremendously.
So then you can quickly choose the layer you want to work on.
Absolutely, that would be so helpful, so helpful.
And that was good. There you go.
Yeah. So this is another
drawing
sketch with Sketchable.
Right.
Yeah. So
tap it with the pencil, man.
See.
And sometimes it takes a while.
You learn something every day.
If it's heavy, also if it's a heavy drawing with lots of layers, then it'll take a while too.
Yeah, this is all done in Sketchable, and you can still get that rough pencil quality, and that's what I like about it. And it's really easy to use. You just pick the tool and start getting down. And you can do a lot of the multiple layers, like transparencies and all that. So that's really cool.
Yep.
Love it.
The last feedback was brushes, because you have. Do you draw a lot in Photoshop, or where do you see other brushes that you are able to?
I tell you this, like I said, I'm not really super digital, but I used another program, and you could actually download kits right inside the program. Like they had one for clouds. And it was brushes that are just for drawing clouds.
Right.
Nice. Brushes for drawing water. Brushes for drawing waves. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So they even have a cross-hatching brush. And I like the crosshatch.
Yeah.
You know how easy it is? The crosshatch, we just do this, and it just draw, it just make one line and it crosshatch everything for you. Instead instead of you doing this and your screen getting all hot from processing all the lines, burning your hand. I was like, yeah, that's what's up. So little things like that, then you guys will be knocking it out the park.
Knocking it out the park. Okay, cool. So we're gonna let silicon vendors know about those things. I've heard a lot about the crop. What is it? Lasso tool. Mm-hmm. Yep, another thing.
Lasso.
Yeah, Lasso would help out a lot too. I have shortcuts for doing things like that are not allowed in Sketchable because I like staying in the simplicity of that app. It's just like how simple and easy it is to get the tool you want.
Yeah. This is an example of the cross hatching that takes a while.
Mm-hmm. And you zoom in when you do that. You how deep into the zoom in did you go?
Sometimes I can get a bit unnecessary, but still, you know, it's cool. You know, if you like to cross hatch, the thing is, you don't really have to change your style of drawing for Sketchable.
That's right.
That's the best thing about it. You can do what you normally do like that, and just you don't have to learn anything really new. You just keep doing what you normally do, and there you are. So cool.
All right, awesome. Okay, so you've seen it here. Try it out. Let's see what it happens and how you can make some digital artwork with the simplest of tools. Right now, we're going to move into the last two questions of our live stream. I'm going to check and see if anybody has some notes here, blueprints and notes. I can dig it. Mike Johnson, he's on. Casey Matthews says hello. And there's a lot of comments that I can't see because Facebook. All right, so we'll make sure that we go over the comments later and leave some responses. If you have any questions, W will make sure he does that too, because I'm going to tag him on the video.
Word.
All right. So last two questions, W.
Yeah.
Is number one, where do we find you online?
Okay.
Go.
Oh, where you finding me? I thought you were going to ask both the questions at the same time. Right. It's like, okay, I thought it was like could join them together. Okay. I could be found on w.net. That's DUBELYOO.net. You can get at me on Instagram. It's DUBELYOO that Instagram.
Okay.
And I'm pretty much the same thing on everything. I have one name, you know, and you can just find me. I'm out there putting out new work, you know, documenting different things. So please holler at me. Have any comments? Shoot it to me, and I'll get back at you.
Awesome. And the last question is, what kind of advice do you have for the W of 20 years ago?
Oh, 20 years ago, I got all types of advice. Oh, man. If I could sit down and talk to myself, I'd be like, yo, dude, here's what you need to do. I don't have a lot of time. One, learn digital painting today. Get in early. Learn that stuff. You know, two, I would say this, be on top of little things a lot more. As a creative person, you tend to want to focus on just the creativity aspect of it and making things happen. But it's the person who can focus on the little stuff that really excels over time. Well, so, you know, really be on top of stuff and actually try to learn more. Try to learn something new every day. Expand your knowledge base. You know, now that I'm older, I find myself saying, you know, wow, there's a lot of stuff I really don't know. And I would tell myself 20 years ago, you don't know so much. There's so much you do not know that you're going to find out the hard way. It is far better to, you know, be out there, be open, and, you know, try to increase your skill set, pick up new things, and, you know, you'll stay competitive in the industry.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt Penciler. Say goodbye.
Peace out, y'all.
And follow artistking_ATL on all social medias. Post your artwork for Sketchable. Check out our sponsors. Big ups to Post Office for the space. Cultivating Cultures for extending that bridge to connect the Atlanta community together. The arts community, the tech community, the startup community, the city, and underground Atlanta. Stay tuned for a lot more projects from all these artists in here. And check out artistking.org for upcoming events, classes, and workshops. Talk to y'all later. See y'all soon. Peace out.